we visit Ocho Rios, Jamaica, Georgetown, Grand Cayman, Cozumel, Mexico, ride a classic car around Havana, Cuba, Roatán, Honduras, and Costa Maya, Mexico on the MSC Armonia. This was a back-to-back honeymoon cruise for Stacy and me. We flew to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The flight attendant made an announcement that they had special guests on board, us, since we had just got married. After arriving in Fort Lauderdale, we made our way to Newport Beachside Hotel and Resort. We boarded the MSC Armonia and had lunch. We toured the ship, and then the rooms were ready. And day 2 was a full day at sea. After getting off the ship in Ocho Rios, we walked around for a little over an hour. We were really turned off by the pushy people trying to sell us cab rides and other stuff. Once we got back on the ship, we sat outside and had lunch with a nice view of Jamaica. On day 4 in Georgetown, Grand Cayman, we went to Stingray City. We had a lot of pictures taken. We spent about a half hour walking around Georgetown. We had fun dancing at White Hot Night. On day 5, we took an excursion to the dolphin swim in Cozumel, Mexico. On day 6, we got up, had breakfast, and waited for our arrival in Havana. We were told the lines through customs would move very slowly. After asking some crew members where the line would form, we were literally the first people in line to get off the ship. Passport control for us was a breeze. Out of the building, we found the meeting point for our excursion and then walked around Old Havana for an hour and a half. We met the car group for our excursion and were assigned a 1956 Buick Special to ride around in. We rode through various poor, middle class, and high-end neighborhoods, made a couple stops and along the seashore. A lot of Americans are very curious about the old classic cars that are in Havana. Yes, they're there. They've been maintained for all these decades. But they're not the only cars in Havana. They just can't get American imports with the embargo in place. They do get new modern cars from other places around the world. Havana is the capital and largest city of Cuba. Havana was founded by the Spanish in the 16th century. It served as a springboard for the Spanish conquest of the Americas, becoming a stopping point for Spanish galleons returning to Spain. Walls and forts were built to protect the city. The city is the seat of the Cuban government and various ministries and headquarters of businesses and over 100 diplomatic offices. Today's Havana can essentially be described as three cities in one: Old Havana, Vedado, and the newer suburban districts. The city attracts over 1 million tourists every year. Havana is noted for its history, culture, architecture, and monuments. Havana experiences a tropical climate. On the night of January 27, 2019, a tornado ripped through Havana. The tornado toppled trees and utility poles, destroyed cars, and sent debris flying as it passed through the city. 8 people were killed and over 190 were injured. If any tornado damage was still present when Stacy and I visited, I'm not aware of seeing any of it. We used the bathrooms at one stop. They gave Stacy a tiny bit of toilet paper to use. They wanted us to make a donation for using the bathroom, but we didn't have any currency on us. I'm pretty sure the woman wasn't happy about it, but she did let us through. Havana has diverse styles of architecture, from castles built in the 16th century to modernist high-rise buildings. The present condition of many structures has deteriorated since 1959 or has been demolished. Numerous building collapses throughout the city have resulted in injuries and deaths due to a lack of maintenance. The largest religious group in Havana is Roman Catholic. Between 1915 and 1930, Havana hosted more tourists than any other location in the Caribbean. This was partly due to Cuba's proximity to the United States, where a prohibition on alcohol was in effect. The United States trade embargo on Cuba in 1961 caused tourism to drop drastically. Cuba's government opposed any considerable development of tourism. Since the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Cuba has suffered decades of economic deterioration. Cuba's government assumes all responsibility for education. It's free and mandatory. Many Cubans are avid sports fans and enjoy baseball especially. Back on the ship, we decided to have dinner at the buffet. We walked around the top deck of the ship, admiring the view and having a little bit of fun. We enjoyed the sunset and took some nice pictures. There was a Cuban band playing on the stage which Stacy wanted to watch. I decided to go offshore again to walk around some more. This was Easter Eve. I came across a church service that was in progress. On the morning of Easter Sunday, we had breakfast in the dining room and headed outside to Havana. We decided on the spur of the moment to ride the hop-on hop-off bus around the city. We stopped to take some pictures in front of the docked ship. Back on board, we had lunch and then hung out by the pool for a couple hours. We rusted up and got ready for dinner. We made sure that we had all the details and paperwork ready for our second trip to Havana, Cuba in 1 week. This was the goodbye party for this particular cruise. We were in transit, so we would be staying on for the second week after the ship arrived in port the next morning. Of course, we went to the late-night farewell party. Since we are on a back-to-back cruise, we had to get off in Miami, go through customs, and get back on again. We stopped for a selfie with the captain on the way back in. We asked about the new rumors of no more cruise ships to Cuba. He didn't have any more information at that point than we did. Back on the ship, they had a private lunch for those who were staying on board back to back. We turned out to be the only ones there. After lunch, we hung out by the pool again and enjoyed the peace and quiet before the new passengers boarded the ship. Here we are, waiting for the next group to get on the ship. We watched the arrival into Roatán Island, Honduras. We had no excursions booked, so we waited for everyone else to get tendered. Then we planned to walk around for a while. Next stop was Costa Maya, Mexico. We had no excursions planned here either, so we just walked around for a while. That's Stacy dancing with one of our entertainment crew members. We enjoyed watching the dolphins jumping around. Then we went back to Cozumel, Mexico. We had no excursions booked this time, so we walked around and found a nice park to sit in for a while and just enjoy people watching. We also watched a crew doing repairs to this clock tower. At the end of the week, back to Havana, Cuba. Since we had already been there the week before, we were not in any rush to get off the ship. We figured we would let other people get off while we enjoyed the ship, and then we would walk off at our own leisure. So we enjoyed the views of Cuba as we sailed into the harbor. I'm not sure what you would call this, a pedal cycle, I guess. but it was a guy who pedaled us around for some sightseeing. We came across a wedding. Stacy sprained her ankle while on the deck of the ship. That evening we went to a show that was typical of the type of shows they had in Havana in the 1950s. It was a fun show. They invited members of the audience to come up for one song. So naturally, I went up. Stacy would have gone up if she wasn't nursing that sprained ankle. I walked around some more after dark again. Altogether, the next day was our 4th day in Havana, Cuba, between the 2 back-to-back cruises. I got up and had a nice breakfast outside while Stacy slept in. We got off the ship, walked around, and we got one last tour with a horse and buggy ride. We thoroughly enjoyed visiting Havana, Cuba, and I would go back again if a good opportunity comes up. Many of the people there don't make much money. They rely on tips and income from foreign visitors.